welcome to ABC Interactive English. Hello everyone, I am Mike.
And I'm Sam.
And we have part B of our dialogues for today. I think part A was very, very useful. How are you? Getting to know someone, getting to know their name and what they like, and finding things that are in common, ways to begin a friendship, a relationship, and maybe even find your new best friend at school. Today, though, we are moving over to family photos. Wow, those are always interesting. Both looking at your own photos from, recent fun things you did with your family, maybe photos from years and years ago, or maybe also looking at photos of your friends' family. Is your family a big photo family? Do you always take pictures together and have lots of books or, have all the photos online you can look at?
Yes, and so I've actually been thinking about this more and more recently because before, when you took pictures, you would have to take them somewhere and you would get a physical
actual
photo.
Picture. Right.
And so then those would go into photo books, and every time I'd go to my grandparents' house, I could see just years and years and years of pictures of when I was a kid or when my dad was a kid or any of that kind of stuff. But now, photos are all on my phone.
True.
So I'm not sure what to do to be able to have my kids later on look back and go, look at how young I was. So I might have to start printing some out or something.
Yeah, or have a family photo USB or something like that you can't lose or drop or break because then all the photos are gone. I think putting them in a book is a great idea.
I think so.
I have many good memories of sitting with my grandmother and looking at her old photos of my father and uncle when they were young, and look at their clothes and look at their haircuts and all that stuff. It's kind of like having a record of your family's history and being able to share it in a nice, relaxing way, not just, looking at a little screen on a phone. I think that is a very wonderful way to make special family memories. So let's find out what's going on with the family photos, whose family photos we will be looking at. All will become clear as we get into our dialogue. Laura and Scott are looking at her family photos.
Wow, I am so young in this photo.
Yes, you are. How old are you in that photo?
I am around 7 years old.
Who is the man in the photo with you?
All right, so the title, very simply, Family Photos. So they're probably looking at photos of one of their family, unless they're brother and sister. Could be the same family. Let's find out. It says Laura and Scott are looking at her family photos. Okay, so these are Laura's pictures or photos of Laura's family, and Scott, I guess, is her friend, and he's just sort of meeting her family by looking at all of these pictures.
Yes, and so she says, wow, I am so young in this photo. So she must be looking at a picture from a long time ago when she was a kid and saying, wow, look how young I am.
Absolutely. And Scott agrees. Maybe it's a picture of her, as a baby or something like that on a really little bicycle or something. And he says, yes, you are. You are very young there. Clearly, you're not an older person. You're at the beginning of your life there. And he's actually having a little bit of trouble trying to guess how young she is. He says, how old are you in that photo? If you want to know a person's age or how many years they have been alive, this is the way to ask it. How old are you? How old are you now? How old were you when you moved to America? Or how old are you in that photo? In other words, what is your age? How many years have you been around?
Yes, and so then Laura says, I am around 7 years old. So she's not exactly sure if she's exactly 7 or maybe she's 8 or maybe she's 6, but she's somewhere around that age. And this adverb around is used to say when something is close to that area, but not maybe exactly at that spot. So you could say, for example, you could say, I live around this area. Like, I live around Taipei 101. Maybe not exactly in Taipei 101, because I don't think anyone can live in Taipei 101, but you live around it, close to it, near it in some way. So again, if you're talking about numbers or how old or the age of somebody, we don't remember exactly how old she is in this picture, so she says around 7.
Okay, so she could be 6.5, she could be closer to 8, approximately or around 7 years old. Now I'm going to take a guess, and I'm going to guess that teacher Tina is not around 7 years old. She's a couple years older.
Hi, I'm Tina. 我们来看一下刚刚对话里提到的单字跟文法重点。首先来看看单字的部分。Around 副词大约。Dinner will be ready around 6 p.m. 晚餐大约在晚上6点准备好。我们再来看一下文法重点。刚刚对话提到了 How old is somebody? 某人几岁？描述岁数时常用数字加上 year old 或者是 years old 来表达。我们来看看这个例句。How old is your brother? 你弟弟几岁？ He is 10 years old. 他10岁。接着我们回到课文当中。
All right, we are back. So we're looking at these photos of Laura's family. It's all very interesting to her friend Scott. He's seen a picture of a very young little baby Laura, around 7 years old. And then Scott notices a person that he doesn't know. So he kind of probably points at the picture and says, who is the man in the photo with you? So there's little 7-year-old Laura, but there's a man with her and he doesn't recognize. He's never seen this person before. So he wants to know, who is that man?
Yes, and so we're going to kind of leave this dialogue off on a cliffhanger because
mystery.
We don't know. Who is that man in that photo?
Is it Superman?
Maybe. So we have to go to the second part of our dialogue to see.
That is my dad. He is a teacher at my old junior high school. He teaches math.
So, where are you and your dad in the photo?
We are at my family's lake house. We go there every summer.
That is cool. It is good to do things with your family.
All right, we are back and we're looking at photos with Laura and Scott. Scott saw a picture of a young Laura, just 7 years old. She's much older now, but he also saw a man in the picture. Scott didn't know who that was, so he asked her, who is that man with you?
Yes.
Who is the man?
Well,
who is it?
Luckily,
Tell me,
it's
I
nothing.
gotta know.
It's nothing too crazy. It's nothing too crazy.
Oh, okay.
Laura says, that is my dad. Yeah,
that makes sense.
That makes sense. I mean, she's 7 years
7.
old or
It's her dad.
around 7, and the dad is in the picture. That makes sense.
Of course.
Yes, and so she says, he is a teacher at my old junior high school. He teaches math. So she says, yes, that person in the photo is my dad. And then she gives a little information about her dad and says what he does for work. And he's a teacher and he teaches math.
There you go. And I guess he was Laura's teacher because she says that he's a teacher at her old junior high school. And that is a level of school that most kids will go through. If you begin school as a young person, grade 1 or so, you will be in elementary school or primary school. Now you can help me with this. I think that goes up to grade 6.
Yes.
And then in North America, this is mainly true for North America, and Taiwan has a similar system. After grade 6, you leave that school with really young kids and you go to middle school or junior high school. And this will go for grades 7, 8, and 9.
Where I was from, we did 7 and 8.
7 and 8, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, and sometimes I do 6, 7, 8. Okay. So it kind of just depends.
Every country might be a little bit different, or even states in America. But this is basically for kids around the age of 11 to 13, 14, something like that. That's junior high school, the younger one. And then there's senior high school. That would be grades 10, 11, 12, basically until the end of high school. And then you'll go off to college or university. So junior high school is the one in the middle, not the youngest kids, not the oldest kids, the kids in the middle, the junior high school or middle school, as it's sometimes called. And whether it is the youngest kids in elementary school, junior high school, or senior high school, you will probably have to do math.
Yes, and so math is a study or a class in school where you are learning about numbers. You're learning anything that you have to do with, 1 plus 1 or 1 times a million, whatever. All of those things are considered math or mathematics. And of course, there's the simple addition and subtraction and multiplication and division. But then you can get all the way up into the more complicated math that you might see in high school of calculus and geometry and trigonometry and all those things. But they all fall under the category of math.
Yes. I love math.
I do.
All right, let's go over to Tina.
我们来看一下刚刚对话里提到的单字 Junior high school, junior high school, 国中 My junior high school life was fun and busy. 我的国中生活既有趣又忙碌 Math, math, 名词数学 Math is not easy for Ben. 数学对 Ben 来说不容易。接着我们回到课文当中。
All right, we are back. So, Scott says, as they continue to look at Laura's family photo, so where are you and your dad in the photo? So they're still looking at that photo. 7-year-old Laura, this man, we now know that's her dad, who is a math teacher. And now he's looking at the background, what they're sort of standing in front of. And he wants to know, what place in the world is this place? Or as he says, so where are you and your dad in the photo? Another way of saying, where was the photo taken?
And so then Laura says, we are at my family's lake house.
Oh, how nice.
We go there every summer.
Oh, how nice.
So yes, it's very nice. So they have a vacation home. So it's not the house that they live in all the time, but they like to go there and spend some time in the summer at their lake house.
There you go. And it's lovely to have a house by the lake because that means your house is next to the water. A lake is a body of water. It's not an ocean. That's huge. It's not a sea. That's big too. And both of those have salt water and sharks in them. Lakes are much smaller. They are surrounded by land. We would say the lake has fresh water, water you can drink, and no sharks at all. It might have fish. It might have big fish, but it won't have ocean or sea fish. It will have lake or river fish. Lakes are usually created by rivers. They're in an area of land that goes down, the water collects, and if it stays there for a really long time, ta-da, you have a lake. I guess Sun Moon Lake in Taiwan is the biggest. Taiwan actually doesn't have very many lakes.
No, not
it's a lot of mountains, that's why. But you can go to other countries and they have wonderful lakes where people like to go out on boats or go swimming or go fishing. Some lakes can be really, really, really big. Some lakes can be small, but they are all surrounded by water and they are all created by rivers flowing into and out of them. Back to the dialogue. That is cool, says Scott. So it's cool that her family has a lake house and they go there every summer. Not every family is so lucky, especially if they live in the city. So that's kind of a cool, special, interesting thing about her family. And he says, it is good to do things with your family. Going to the lake, going on holiday, having the same hobbies or pastimes or interests. Just finding things to enjoy with your family at the same time. That is good.
Yes, and so this little phrase that we have where it says, it is good to, and then you add a verb after that. And this is just a way that you can kind of set up a sentence to say that you think these things are good or they have a benefit or there's it's nice to do it, there's a good reason to do it, all of that. So it is good to study for your test early, or that it is good to do your homework longer than just right before class. Maybe do it a few days early. So saying that these things have some kind of benefit or positive thing, and this is the kind of phrase that you can set it up for. So it is good to do things with your family. It is good to put your phone away before you sleep so that you can have a good rest. So this is all saying things that are nice or benefit you in some way to do.
There you go. It is good to eat your vegetables, to brush your teeth at least 2 times a day, and to go over to Teacher Tina because she knows everything about everything. So let's do that now.
我们来看一下刚刚对话里提到的单字 lake 名词湖泊 They went swimming in the lake. 他们去湖里游泳。文法的部分刚刚提到了 It is good to 加动词，做某事是很好的。Good 可以用其他形容词替换。我们来看看这2个例句。第一个 It is good to help others. 帮助别人是很好的。下一个例句 It is fun to play with friends. 和朋友玩是很有趣的。接着我们回到课文当中。
All right, guys, that's all the time we have. I want to see those family pictures. They sound lovely and interesting. And as we said, it's a great way to get to know your friends. Check out some of their family photos. You would have fun doing that. Well, we hope you've had some fun with us, and we will be back with more good stuff in the future. But until then, all the best and bye-bye. Laura and Scott are looking at her family photos.
Wow, I am so young in this photo.
Yes, you are. How old are you in that photo?
I am around 7 years old.
Who is the man in the photo with you?
That is my dad. He is a teacher at my old junior high school. He teaches math.
So, where are you and your dad in the photo?
We are at my family's lake house. We go there every summer.
That is cool. It is good to do things with your family.
我们来复习一下这课的重点单字跟文法。单字的部分 around 副词大约 junior high school 国中 math 名词数学 lake 名词湖泊。接着我们来看文法的部分 How old is somebody 某人几岁 How old is your father 你爸爸几岁 He just turned 50 years old 他刚满50岁It is good to 加动词，做某事是很好的。It is good to take a break when you are tired. 疲惫的时候休息一下是很好的。It isn't nice to shout at others. 对别人吼叫是不好的。以上就是这一课的重点单字跟文法，那我们下一次再见喽，拜拜。
Hey, 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 it's KiWi on the street. I'm Kiki.
And I'm Winnie.
And we are at the zoo.
And today we are going to dive into the world of amphibians and reptiles. Tiles.
But what exactly is the difference?
Let's go and find out. And here we have an example of an amphibian, the red-eyed tree frog. And an amphibian is a type of cold-blooded animal that can live in land and water. Now, what's special about these animals is they have a lot of moisture on their skin. There's a layer of mucus that surrounds them, and it helps them breathe.
Reptiles are basically animals with scales and a backbone. So snakes, lizards, turtles, and crocodiles. Another cool thing about reptiles is what they do with their skin. We can see a perfect example here. This snake here is molting, which means they need to shed their skin. And when they shed their skin, they're letting the old skin fall off and letting the new skin grow out.
Today, we learned about the differences between amphibians and reptiles.
So next time, you'll know how to differentiate the difference between the two animals when you're talking about them.
That's all we have for today. Remember to follow us on Instagram, DM us, or email us if there's something you want to say in English, but you just don't know how. Anything you want to say, Kiki?
I'm actually scared of amphibians and reptiles.
Kiwi later.